Okay, two possible formulas. So anytime I'm talking about a series, I'm talking about a sum. So we would sum the first 5 terms. So you're going to add them together. Again, you could label them all out, figure out what the first 100 terms are, and then add them in your calculator. Transcription errors, that takes a long time. So using the formula is a little bit better. So the series starts with the letter S. So the series is n divided by 2 that is T1. All right, so this looks super similar. If you guys notice that if I wrote it like this, because T1 plus T1 would give me the 2T1. Do you guys recognize that from Friday? Because that's your sequence formula. That's for finding the 5th term or the 20th term or something like that. So that's kind of embedded in there. And so knowing that, we can actually use option 2, which is just a simplified formula. So this would be T1 plus Tn. So that just turns into that. And you don't need to know this one. You can just use either. Both are stated on your formula sheet. Okay, let's define all of our variables in there so we don't get confused. So let's look at option 1. And these are super similar to 1.1. So n still represents the number of terms. If you're looking for the 20th term, your n is going to be 20. If you're looking for the sum of the first 20 terms, then your n is still going to be 20. It's just you're asking it to do something else. T1 is the value of the first term. And what's D? It's the same as Friday. The difference, and we called that the common difference. And if we want to find it, we would take, I'm going to say T2 and we'd minus T1 from it. Or you could take T4 and minus T3 from it. Okay, so it's always, you're minusing the term before it. Okay, super easy, looks really similar. It's a lot of order of operations and algebra, but not a lot of too terrible hard math. So this one, all the same things. So Sn is the sum. And we know sum just means that we're adding. N is the number of terms. T1 is the value of the first term. T2 is the value of the last term. Sorry, Tn. So one of the more difficult things here is just to make sure you know what the question's asking you. Is it asking me to find the value of a term? So that would be Friday's lesson. Or is it asking me to sum and find the value of a bunch of the first terms, or like a set of terms? Okay, so male fireflies flash in a particular pattern to send warning signals or a location. If a male firefly flashes twice in the first minute, 4 times in the second minute, 6 times in the third minute, so what's T1? 2. What's my second term?
4.
What's my third term? Okay, knowing that information, what's my fourth term? 8, right? So I think you guys have the pattern. What's the common difference here? 2, right? So we're adding 2 every time. So you found the common difference. You know what T1 is. So now we're going to read some more information here. How many times would the firefly flash in the 30th minute? So is it asking for the total number of flashes or what's happening in that 30th minute? In the 30th minute. So that is a sequence question where we're finding T30. Now, if you look at part B, it says what would the total number of flashes be in 30 minutes? That's a series. So it wants the sum of what happened over 30 minutes. So that's going to be the more difficult part of this lesson, is now that you have more information, you're going to have to make some decision on what the question is asking you. All right. So part A is from yesterday. So we want to find the 30th minute. We know T1 is 2. What's N? 30. What's D? You guys already figured D out. 2. And so we're just going to use the formula from Friday's lesson, which is T20 equals T1 plus N minus 1 in brackets times by the common difference. Oh, sorry. T30. So we're just going to fill in what we know. We're going to solve for T30. So that's going to be 29. 29 times 2, 58. So how many times does the firefly flash in the 30th minute? 60 times. Now, how realistic this is, I'm not 100% sure. I've never really stopped to think about fireflies and flashing, but I don't know if they would flash for 30 minutes. That'd be a lot. So now in part B, it asks the questions, hey, how many times did it flash over the entire 30 minutes? So I know in the last minute it flashed 60 times, and I know in the first minute it flashed 2 times. So I've got some information there to work with. What option would you guys use? Would you use option 1 or option 2 for formulas?
2.
How come?
It's like more simplified.
It is more simplified, but what do I need to answer? What piece of information do I need to answer?
TN.
I need TN. I just calculated it in part A, so I can definitely use it. And if I know that, then I can use option 2. It's more simplified, nice and easy. I don't have to do anything. But if you're not confident with that, you can totally use option 1. So the poor little firefly flashes 930 times. I don't know if he has enough energy stored in his little body to do that. I don't know how accurate this is, like if they reach a max capacity, but again, I don't really know. Okay. All right. You guys are going to definitely get this question either on a quiz or on a test. Maybe both, probably the exam as well. This is a two-stepper. This takes some more thinking. I don't think it's super hard, but I do think that you need to actually, it's not just plug and chug with the numbers. The sum of the first two terms in an arithmetic series is 13. So we know that T1 plus T2 equals 13. Everybody agree with me on that one? That's what it says. The sum of the first two terms. The sum of the first four terms is 46. So we know that T1 plus T2 plus T3 plus T4 equals 46. They're not denominators. I'm just writing them underneath because I don't know what the number is. I don't know what T1 is. It's not a fraction, sorry. All right. So this is a lot more difficult. Do we know what the first term is? No. Do we know what the common difference is? Also no. Not helpful, eh? So what we're going to do is we are going to create an equation for both of these scenarios. We do know what the sum is. So for this one, what do we know the sum is? 13. So we know the sum of the first two terms is 13. What else do we know from that information? We know n. How many terms do we have? 2. Do we know T1? No. And we don't know the common difference. So that's sad. So let's make a general equation. Do you guys remember what I meant by general equations in 1.1? It's like you're making the most simplified equation with the information that you have. That's the formula from the other side. So we're going to fill in what we know. We know this is 13. We know this is 2 over 2. We know this is 2T1. Okay, so let's tighten this up. That's pretty exciting, isn't it? Everybody get the math that I did there? Like just, it's all ones in this question. Okay, so if you are brilliant people, which I know you are, I'd like you to do the same thing for this set of information over here. So do the same thing. I'm gonna hit pause on my screen and then we'll end up in the same place. Did you guys get the same formula as me? Yes, hopefully. I see a couple people nodding. I see a couple people copying my answers. If you're just copying, that'll be okay. If you didn't get it right, I guess notice where you made your mistake. Did you not distribute properly? Something like that. As long as you can recognize where you made your mistake, then you're going to build from that. If you chose not to do it, then you're not really going to have an understanding if you know what you're doing. Okay. We are going to do lesson 8.2 right now. You've already done this before. You did this in 6.4. We're going to take this equation and we're going to rearrange it to a single variable. What variable are you going to rearrange it to? The letter D or T? 1. We said D because it's already by itself. So really this is going to be 13 minus 2t1 equals D. Right? Just bring that 2t1 to the other side, change its sign. All right, now what we're going to do, this is chapter 8, we're going to take this, we're saying D is the same thing as this. So we're going to take this piece and we're going to substitute it into the second formula. And we're going to do some math on that. All right, what variable are we left with? Once we have T1, we can solve a whole bunch of stuff. So if we solve for the value of T1 just by using basic algebra, I got 46 equals negative 8T1 plus 78. Okay, we just found our first term to be 4.
For both of them?
It's the same sequence, right? So it's the same sequence, so it's going to be 4. Did everybody get that copied? I'm going to slide back up to the top. If we know T1 has a value of 4, what does T2 have to have? So this would be 4, this would be 9. What's the common difference here? 5. So we're adding 5 to each side. What would this term be? 14, and then 19. And if I add 4 plus 9 plus 14 plus 19, I get 46. So that's pretty exciting. So it says determine the first 6 terms in the series and the sum of the first 6 terms. Okay, so what's T1? We said T1 was 4, T2 was 9, T3 was 14, T4 is 19, T5 is hopefully 24, T6. Okay, so we found all 6 terms, and now we need to find the sum of the 6 terms. So if we're finding the sum of the 6 terms, I think 6 we can probably add together in our calculator, and really it's only 3 because we know the sum of the first 4 is 46. So 46 plus 24 plus 29 gives me 99. So that's one part of the answer, and that's the other part. So you're going to have to do this type of question on a quiz, a test, and an exam. And you might do it in Geo as well. We just haven't got there yet. So that's it. That's all. Easy peasy. Quick lessons.